Hello! Welcome! It is.
Hello.
I am here with my judicial assistant, returning once again from the first playthrough, Mr.
It's me.
Kiro!
Hello, everyone.
This will be Kiro's basically fourth time through this game, but it's such a good game, you can see why.
I love this game so much.
So, Kiro, how excited are you for me to get through this section of the game?
I'm so excited to see your reactions and everything.
Oh, perfect. I cannot wait to see how much my mind loses it.
Do you have any theories or anything going in?
I think last time I theorized that that Kazuya. Oh God, my brain is like mixing up names now because of all the other. Like, I think his dad killed Van Ziek's brother for a reason, and then Van Ziek's brother might have been something kind of sus, maybe, because it was that one. The guy that you found out was actually part of the prison and got released for being suspected of releasing the Kazuya's dad from prison and helping him escape.
Daily Vigil.
Yeah, Vigil. Yeah. So he was saying oh, I talked to him and he was saying oh, I killed a very noble person, kind of thing. And it's oh, I've kind of encountered another story where they're oh, are you a killer? And they're well, I did take someone very important away from this world, kind of thing. And it turns out that was oh, they're referring specifically to this one character who was he was about to do something bad, so they had to kill him, but they felt really bad about it, kind of thing. Actually, I think that was
okay.
I think that was Venture Brothers. Yeah. It was a very interesting thing. It's Venture Brothers, the Doc and I forget the other creator's name, but it was a character that they wrote who, because they go back and then they'll add on to their story. They don't try to retcon, they try to add on to it, how kind of Yoshi P does for his story. So
Okay.
So there was a character that they thought killed this other character, and then they were asking oh, did you kill him? And he's because it's oh, he went into silence because he killed this one guy, or they killed somebody, and then Brock gets him to talk, and he's just I took a very noble man that day, and that's why I decided to do a vow of silence. And then you find out later that that whole scene kind of makes you think, oh, so he really did kill Dr. Venture or whatever. And then in a much later season, you find out that he used to work for another superhero who was kind of a vigilante, and then it's revealed that that guy got turned into a robot, but then he was malfunctioning and was strangling a kid, so then he had to take him out and put him out of his misery, kind of thing. So then it was oh, that was actually referring to him taking out this guy. And then I don't know, kind of made me think of that for how Vigil was talking to Kazuya's dad.
That sounds wild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Venture Brothers, Carol, honestly, it's a weird show, but the plot writing of that show is so good if you ever want to look into it. They just wrote they did Adult Swim canceled the series, so they had to go off on, they're well, we gotta finish off sort of the story in some way, so then they made a movie, and then the movie came out, so it was really good. So the whole series is complete if you ever want to maybe look into it. It's kind of vulgar though.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I definitely suggest it for anyone.
Ooh.
But it's very good writing in that show. But yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that Kazuya's dad killed Van Ziek's brother for a reason, and then he killed him for a reason, and he regretted it even regardless of that. It's oh, maybe Van Ziek's brother was the actual professor killing people, but I don't really understand his motivations except that he sounded really jaded at one point of his life, so that could be a thing. But yeah, I don't know. And then there was that whole hiding of evidence on Herlock's side, so I'm really just curious about what's going on there, right? But yeah, I think I'm ready to start if you are.
Alright. Yeah, let's go.
Let's go!
Feel free to tell me which characters you want me to read.
Oh yeah, will do. I think you're still Mikotoba and like I don't think Van Zieks is gonna be having the opportunity to cross-examine at this point. Let me prosecute us this time. So, when the time's finally come, today, we unravel everything. I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Miss Susato. Miss Susato?
Ah!
Oh god, my back!
Oh no, what's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo?
What do you mean, what's the matter?
Why are you upside down like that?
Why did you do that? My back? Oh no. Nothing. I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but...
I'm so sorry. Of course, I know I could be rather incompetent at times, but... I shan't let you down.
I think I'm already down, technically, on the floor.
Like when SpongeBob picks up Mr. Krabs, I will not let you down!
SpongeBob, could you let me down? Oh, actually, Clancy actually does play somebody in Venture Brothers, funny enough.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, he does great work. That guy, what a guy. But anyway, would you mind helping me to my feet then?
Oh dear, I'm really very sorry.
Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. But that's hardly surprising, I suppose. She's just found out that her father is a partner of a world-famous detective. Not to mention...
Good morning, sir.
Hmm? Lord Van Zieks! Oh,
Am
yeah,
I still Van Zieks?
Yeah, you're still Van Zieks.
Thank you for all your efforts yesterday.
What? Did I hear that correctly? A compliment?
What?
Oh, no. Nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says, I hate you. But his words are almost jovial today. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday.
Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo.
Good point.
The Reaper, I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged.
Huh?
It was my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zieks.
It's only because serious crime... Oh, it's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it?
To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason.
What do you mean?
There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. Huh? That having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod, to wield a deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not.
Yes, we've heard that story too.
When I lost him, I felt as though I'd lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. even if I knew it was just an illusion. Just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you. Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today.
I never thought I'd say this. But I can see it in your eyes, that burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity.
Thank you.
Now tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air?
It's time for Iris. Hey. Oh, Iris. When did you get here?
Oh!
You want me to be Iris?
You want me, Iris?
I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head.
I thank you.
Oh.
That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. You seem different today, Iris.
Oh?
Sort of. Subdued, I suppose.
I am not.
What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Syed's laboratory.
Alright then. Good luck to you both. I have to make my move now.
Oh, you're not staying?
I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings.
Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready.
Get ready? For what?
Oh, yes. Would you take this?
Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack?
Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little Hurley that I made once.
Hurley? It looks more like a Hairley to me.
If for some reason you completely ran out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Is it a voodoo doll? Pull his ears?
That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it.
Iris's lucky charm has been entered in the record. A little doll of Mr. Sholmes in hair form. I've been told to tuck its ears if I run out of options in the trial today. Oh, so that's what the little charm that I bought from the person for Great Ace Attorney.
Oh yeah.
That's
there's
what
like
it's
little
based off.
there's like little animal mascots of all the characters, and they have like punny names in Japanese and English.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh, I'm glad I bought that charm. It's so good.
You think what we'll need is luck?
I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom, and it seemed very different to normal.
Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops.
What does that mean?
What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris?
I don't know. He was out all night and he hadn't come home by the time I left this morning.
Oh, I see.
Was Professor Mikotoba out all night too, do you think, Mrs. Sato?
Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently, they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all.
Oh wow, late night investigating. Eh?
Father, and Judge Jigoku, I mean.
Oh right, I forgot that Jikoku's here. Judge Jigoku too?
That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday.
That's not suspicious at all on Jigoku's part.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once.
Good luck in there, Bruno. Good luck, Susie.
Yes. Thanks, Iris.
And you, Mr. Reaper? I hope it goes well.
Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing.
Oh, I'm so glad.
We must go inside now, Lord Van Zeeks.
Lord Van Zeeks has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. But not today. Today I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. That'll be split up into multiple parts. Actually been getting like a lot of law stuff recommended to me again on YouTube right before.
Oh, really?
This, yeah. A lot of Legal Eagle.
Oh, yes.
He's so fun, that guy. It feels even more oppressive here than it did yesterday. There are cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today.
Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, look!
What? Lord Strongheart! Kazuma must have known beforehand.
The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system.
The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak.
Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial.
He's so much more intimidating from this angle. Holy shit.
And one over which I, Mayor Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority.
Oh. The 6 jurors' flames just...
As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process.
In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart.
On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zeeks. You were a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact.
Oh. Oh my god.
There you have it, the intimidation.
Yeah, like, honestly, yeah, he's just so much more intimidating. It kind of reminds me of Justice, Spirited Justice, where, like, the Queen finally takes the stand. Like, it kind of makes me think of that kind of energy. Oh no. Oh, I can't wait for those remakes also, by the way.
Oh yeah, me too.
Please, let the FPS on those games be so much better now that they're gonna be ported. Oh, all those breakdowns are so good, too.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. For the trial of Barak von Zix, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed?
The defense is ready, my lord.
As is the prosecution.
Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard.
Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about.
And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice.
Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification, and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact he wasn't.
At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convicts' escape.
Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinner's. He's recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League.
Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed 1 day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound.
The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord.
Oh?
Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi.
I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out.
Oh?
It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on 31st October, the day before his body was discovered.
Halloween!
I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the omitted details.
But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday. That the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November.
There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled.
That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse.
My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly.
Very well. The court will accept a new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it will give renewed significance to the movements of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident.
It would, yes. Especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities.
Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities?
Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday.
What?
I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now.
Who are we getting? Oh, it's yep, of course it's Gina. It's always Gina.
State your name and occupation for the court.
Inspector Gina Lestrade reporting representative of Scotland Yard. Why is this so hard to read her dialogue?
She is so hard to read.
The
A self-conferred rank, but never mind.
Gina? Again? I feel like I do share Unosuke's mind sometimes in this game. Because like sometimes there's always a time where I just be like, oh, this? And then like, I'll be like, this?
This?
What's your problem, Odo? What's with that, Gina, again? Look, eh? The boss meant the world to me. It done more for me than anyone else ever did.
Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean?
He got me out of the back slums of the East End and took me under his wing. Taught me that life can have a purpose. So, that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him.
Oh, Gina.
Kosu's here. Hi, Kosu.
Kosu! Welcome, welcome.
Welcome. Your voice.
We love this game.
Oh, thank you, Kosu. Right. Out of all the goodness of Gregson's heart, not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes, no.
What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about.
Very troubling.
That face. Lord Strongheart knew.
So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report.
Coming right up, sir.
Oh boy, it's her entire testament. Alright, here we go.
All yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is, there's witnesses what saw the Reaper at that place too.
Kochima. Smuggled goods?
I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what was written in the book.
Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines. Goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe.
I really have to sleep, but I never catch you stream, so I want to stop by. Oh, Kosu. Thanks for coming by. I hope you have a good
Thanks
sleep.
for coming. Sleep well.
Yeah, the VOD will be up on here, and then I always upload VODs now immediately to YouTube, and there is a VOD channel that is linked. So if you ever want to watch, they're all there. Yeah.
It's well known that they're disposed of at a regular black market that takes place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time.
So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets.
It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority, without the Yard's knowledge.
And do we know where the dealings were taking place this time?
In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentleman's club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter.
That can't be. We haven't heard anything about any of this.
Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Baroque Van Zieks, was present.
That would be very significant testimony, then.
Oh my, but... Lord Van Zieks has made no mention of this at all.
Yeah, why?
In short, Lord Van Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim.
Very well then. Counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination.
Alright, here we go. It's time to press everything! So, you follow orders, do you, Gina?
Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see?
Oh,
The boss always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips and go give Tob his a grub. That kind of thing.
so errands more than orders then.
This detective is still an apprentice after all.
Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't want to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigations into what happened. I didn't find much at first.
A little search at the boss's office turned up the notebook. So you went through Inspector Gregson's things.
Yep, as part of the independent Lestrade investigation.
I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative.
So I snuck into his office when no one was about, and no one else was about. Cause if anyone at the yard had seen me going in there, they'd have turfed me straight out into the street.
This is something less and less like an investigation and more like something else.
The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook.
You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and her trusty assistant, Chief Inspector Toby. I found it hidden in one of his desk drawers that had a false bottom.
That's impressive.
So then I went to hide it myself where no one could find me, so I could have a butcher's and what was written in it.
What is that? The old English like slang always throws me. A butcher?
Cause if anyone at the yard had found me out, they'd have turfed me straight out on the street.
Uh-huh.
I've given it now though, ain't I? And if it weren't for me, it wouldn't have ever been found. Never ever had.
You okay, Gina?
I'm having a bit of a stroke.
Jeez. Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place?
Yep, it was all there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember.
As already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club.
Yes, I remember. But I was hoping to find out the name of the club.
That won't be necessary.
What?
It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in the future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings.
I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's right here. All I've got to do is read it out. And I could too. I've got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Go on. What's the harm?
The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. And I could try to find out. What should I do? Why don't we insist a bit there, no, hold on. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked.
As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine.
No, my lord. The prosecution has no objection.
Cosmo?
There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on that day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive.
Well, shit.
Right? Right then. I got to show off me reading skills.
Oh, she looks so smug. Apparently the smuggled goods deal was gonna happen at the gentleman's club called the Groose. Anything we had related to Groose?
So much evidence.
God, it's been so... I was like, God, what do I
I
have?
hope you remember everything.
Yeah, oh God. Let me tug on the ears real quick. Oh yeah, that was the passport. Autopsy report. Stab wound to the heart. Superficial wounds. Let's see. Gregson's trunk. Oh yeah, the blood on that. Leave everything. Collaborate a photo. His inspection card. Autopsy report. The handprint. Let's see. Note of indication written back of a ticket passage on a steamship.
Oh, it looks like this is some sort of steamship ticket. The SS Grouse, first class cabin 001.
That's what it was! Thank you!
Yokohama departure 11th September. London arrival 1st November.
That's the boat that Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jigoku came on from Japan, isn't it?
Yes, I think it called at Dunkirk, on the north coast of France for a night before finally arriving in Dover.
I think it's been almost a year since we arrived in Dover on the SS Bra. It seems a shame not to keep your ticket as a memento of your trip, don't you think?
Yes, I agree. I have mine safely in my diary.
And I keep mine in my wallet, so I have it with me at all times. Oh, well, how strange. Where could it have gone?
Are you like this on purpose, Mr. Naruhodo?
Did I imagine it, or was that comment accompanied by a little sigh? Well, what an interesting name for a ship. I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues.
Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted.
Seriously? Is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called the Groose?
The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet.
And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all.
You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it?
A steamship.
You think it's a ship?
Yes. I have the evidence to prove it here.
Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy.
The other side, my lord.
Be more specific next time. This would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship. Yes. The SS Grouse.
Grouse? Is it grouse or is it grouse?
I don't know. So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say, There's a flaw in your logic there.
How?
Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port.
The ship arrived at the port of Dover on 1st November.
The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission. That ship hadn't yet docked on British shores.
That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging.
The fact that the steamship hadn't reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Grouse, whatever.
Then show your evidence for that assertion.
Very well.
Huh?
In that case, defense counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st of October.
Well, this is a passport for France. Can I open you? Was there something in here? Let's have a look inside. Look, there's something inside.
Oh, let's see. It appears to be a passport, authorizing him to travel overseas.
Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then?
Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh!
What is it?
It was for travel on 31st October, just one day before the incident.
What? Really? Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered? Hmm. Interesting. And the only other thing we have is this passport. This is 1 week from the 31st of October. Or within 1 week from it. To France. But why would this one be?
Take that!
It's proven by this evidence here. Yes, this evidence proves it, I think. The proof is in the pudding.
Those three equally nonsensical statements wasted 15 seconds of the court's time. You will accordingly suffer 15 seconds worth of penalty, counsel.
Ow. Okay. Alright, ow. I need to work on picking a more succinct turn of phrase.
I think you might need to work on picking a more appropriate piece of evidence first.
Good point. And I'm sure Gregson was on board that ship the day before his body was found. And we know the SS Grouse stopped at the port of Dunkirk in France for the night. Oh, in France. Oh.
I take it from your expression that you intend to risk further penalty. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse, whatever, on the 31st of October.
Okay, now that they said the France, they said the France thing again. I think this one makes more sense, probably.
Take that!
Okay.
What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim? Dated 31st October. What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that just 1 day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility He wasn't even in the country.
Ugh.
Order! Order! This document is for the passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized.
The day before the SS Grouse, Grouse, whatever, arrived in Dover. It docked on the northern coast of France for a night.
According to my father, who was on board, at the port of Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, France? What could possibly have taken the victim there?
Ha 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 ha! I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport.
Huh? You knew? What? You mean... you knew about this?
The prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office.
Oh.
On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations, and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something.
What?
And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be.
What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi?
A courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts without exception.
Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, wasn't it?
The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper.
The Reaper? Oh? Oh? Questions?
Order! Order! What on earth are you saying, Counsel?
The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper.
I don't know why it's so funny that he's just flashing back to himself. It's just so funny for some reason.
When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that.
What?
Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was in fact acting for the Reaper.
So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was...
Obviously, an assassination.
What? Huh?
Beric Van Zeeks never carried out any of the actual killings.
Okay, yeah.
Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi,
Right?
which tells us that he must have had an accomplice.
What?
And you claim that was Inspector Gregson?
What the hell do you think you're saying, eh? My boss would never have done nothing like that.
And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense.
No, it can't be.
We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper.
Even so, there's no way that that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zeeks. No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Beric Von Zeeks is not the Reaper!
A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man.
And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, The suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't fall at all.
Oh, you have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, Counsel?
Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it.
Huh.
What's so funny?
You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think, perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life.
What?
Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure.
Failure?
It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here.
What are you talking about? What detail?
Inspector Gina Lestrade,
Eh? What?
the victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey.
You're lying! Even if all them bludgers want God clicking out, I had it coming. The boss went the Reaper.
Poor Gina.
Oh, right, the book had all the people that were in the... Oh, yeah, okay, it's starting to come back to me.
There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumors.
I ain't heard nothing. And I don't believe a word of it.
Then testify again, as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss.
I don't.
I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, Trod, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook.
Man, poor Gina. Like, honestly, poor Gina.
Right?
Yeah, this notebook does have a lot of stuff about what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. And the last entry in there was 31st of October. It said Gruce on the place on the date, or for the place on the date, and the name of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal who got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or some that. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all.
Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here.
This must be so hard for her.
You can't deny now, surely, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
What can't I deny?
The notebook contained the name of the final mark, and the location where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could only have known if he was working with the Reaper.
So, who was to be this final mark?
Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on 31st October.
Oh, how do you read this then?
Reading's still not her strong suit. Or is it a foreign name? Is it Jigoku? Is it Jigoku?
That ain't the problem, alright, Odo. That's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read.
So it's someone from overseas?
Let me have a bash at it. Se. I. Iro. Is that? Yeah. Seishiro. Ji. Go. Yo. Maybe.
What? It can't be. Seishiro Jigoku? Yeah!
Nice!
Yeah! He's been missing for so long, it makes sense!
That's Jigoku!
Seishiro Jigoku? Certainly not an English name, you're right.
But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday, here in London. So I know for a fact that the man hasn't been assassinated.
As I said, the Reaper failed.
Oh.
Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake. So he killed the inspector. Personally. The Reaper, of course, being the accused, Berg van Zieks.
It's an undeniably logical argument.
Kazuma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it!
What? Who? What? Yeah, let's go!
Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollow chalice whilst I stand accused of murder.
It's just him go.
Pray forgive me for
Getting drunk on this occasion while you're trying to.
Who could blame me?
Lord Van Zieks!
The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of the court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective.
Eh? What? No, that's right, I ain't. I'm an inspector.
Repeating rumors heard around the yard. Reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony. It's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I am the Reaper, who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself. By attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance.
My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness.
Very well. I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination.
Then allow me to toast the court's impartiality.
Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense. Begin the cross-examination immediately.
At once, my lord. Alright, well, it's definitely a press everything kind of situation. In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper.
Not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook was said what he found out.
If I may. When originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial.
But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you?
Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper.
One arm? What are you on about?
The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization.
Organization 13! It all comes back to... No.
With you at its head. I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location.
You knew it said... Grouse?
Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate. Alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France. As shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Very well then. Back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook.
Fine.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seem a little shocked by something a moment ago.
Oh, no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? Names of dates, victim... Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff. What in particular?
Well, besides the victims' names, this other name kept cropping up.
What other name was that?
It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again.
You mean... Assassin?
Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours or something, isn't she?
Were you even listening yesterday?
Assassin. The assassin.
What? Like a killer, you mean?
Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them.
But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes.
That's... Then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been...
Clearly the assassin, who was meant to take Seishiro Jigoku's life.
Gina! Can you confirm that? Against the final entry that listed Grouse and Seishiro Jigoku? What name was written?
Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it as it happens.
What?
It just had a question mark or something there, I think.
In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case.
But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating!
A nameless assassin. This is getting really, really weird. And you're saying that the mark listed was Seishiro Jigoku?
That's what it said. Funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd.
So, pleased to have lost my crown there.
Mr. Jigoku is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature.
I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago.
Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart.
That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say.
So Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor.
If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now.
10 years ago, after that fateful case.
Precisely. In the aftermath of the professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed on the inspector's notebook.
I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in here's got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking.
There's a note about him being a criminal what got away. What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious about.
Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it.
Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku did once appear in court here in Britain.
Oh, he did have that outburst, I think, right?
It was related to the professor case, I'm sure.
Yes, of course! You're right! Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Right. Right, he did do that.
It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens.
You did?
It was considered to be an adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike.
What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination?
The man was sent back to Japan immediately after the trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindicative the Reaper is.
Come on, that's absurd! To take someone's life for that?
Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd? Killing those who have been found innocent?
Yeah, you're right.
Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond the sane person's comprehension.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but... A silent objection. Oh, it's Gina.
Right, I've had just about enough of this.
Gina?
All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's cobblers. Come on, Odo.
Yes?
Why ain't you saying nothing? Why aren't you yelling out objection or something?
Well...
You've got to find a flaw. You do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You've got to work out who it is! Please! For the boss.
That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear?
I've had it with the lot of you. It's lies every bleeding place you look in this world, isn't it? Well, I've had enough.
Gina.
So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind.
What, Mr. Naruhodo?
There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd.
Oh, do you mean...
I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Gotta find a flaw somewhere. That's a new statement. Let's try press it, I guess. I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Alright, title card out. Credits.
Title card. What do you mean?
Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency.
What? An inconsistency?
Huh?
Really, Older?
I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... There's so many people! Clearly, it was a statement said by Jigoku! Gregston! He said something!
He said something suspicious now, didn't he?
From beyond the grave, I can hear him eating his fish and chips now. But no, definitely Cosmo. Definitely Cosmo at some point. By you, Cosmo Asogi.
Me.
This is some attempt at filibustering, Counsel. Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony.
What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent?
You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present a relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done.
Very well then, Counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi has said?
I feel like it has something to do with the trunk. Damn it, precise control. Okay. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind.
Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged. Whatever made this gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force.
I wonder how it happened. Do you see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk there. It's glinting.
It looks like a fragment of metal of some sort. but it's wedged in so tightly I can't remove it.
Well, don't cut yourself. You'd better leave it, I think.
Take that!
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson.
A metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A bloodstain? And a relatively fresh one, too.
What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips?
Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. And that suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed.
That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it.
But I found it! Me! With me nose for trouble.
Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. It's like the pancakes in Persona 5. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Cosmo.
Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk.
I was very suspicious of when he said that. I was like, why is he talking about the trunk? I don't remember presenting anything. So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk?
We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection!
But you knew it was a metal trunk! Answer me honestly, Cosma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you?
At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Gross. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke?
Cosma, what did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but... Oh wait, hold on. If Cosma was there on the ship, then it could only have been for one purpose.
Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing.
Cosma, are you challenging me to prove it, beyond all reasonable doubt? That you were there that day, in the same place as the inspector?
He was there with Gregson.
There's a clue that you've overlooked. A secret that Trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right.
The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found. Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asogi to Inspector Gregson?
Well, There certainly is a big gash with a little piece of metal here. That seems important.
Got it!
There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here. Like the tip of a blade.
A blade?
Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma.
Of course it is.
Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see?
Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer.
Bailiff, won't Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk?
That won't be necessary. Oh no!
The tip is broken.
Ugh.
There's some innuendos in here somewhere, but we're not going to go over that. If the fragment of the metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed? Kazuma Osogi? That's fucked up. Holy shit.
Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved.
Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi?
Yes. On 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission.
So the additional person authorized for travel
Was me.
And the mission was?
The assassination of the Mark.
What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku?
Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I've killed no one.
Explain.
I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk. But I never had any intention of carrying out the plan.
You were never going to do it?
We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin. Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but
But you've already told us that you had no intention of going through with it anyway.
I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning.
A boarding house? In Dunkirk?
My signature will be there in the register book. It will be simple enough to verify.
Then, what became of Jigoku?
Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Cosmo. There's still a lot of other things in this equation that aren't there.
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter.
Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence.
As you wish, my lord.
The great sword Karama, the illustrious blade passed down through the generations of the Asogi clan. The prized sword's tip has a small piece missing. Has been added to the court.
We must take immediate action now to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed.
What? Remains unharmed?
I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday.
How did you...
When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise.
You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed?
The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal. And he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'll be able to tell you.
Order. Order in court. Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes.
Now?
Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst.
Oh no, not Judge Jigoku!
Yeah, I like that guy.
No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago.
I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake,
My lord?
I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes.
Huh. They really just let the fire keep burning, huh?
Right? The Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare.
I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories.
I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control.
I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion.
Are you just speaking into a cup?
Yeah, I am. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options.
Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear.
Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. But if for some reason you've completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Harley's ears or not? You know, I think it would be kind of bad for the rabbit. It'll stretch the fabric and no.
Yeah.
Let's pull it. Here goes then. I'm going to do it.
Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo.
No looking back. Heave!
Ow!
Oh my god, it is a voodoo doll! No!
That scream sounded just like Mr. Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes? Oh. Mr. Sholmes! Where are you? Over here!
Here, my dear fellow, here!
It's the felt doll talking!
Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can!
Alright then. I'll put all my strength into it. Heave!
Ow!
Oh, that's
Please,
so
my
cute.
dear fellows. You don't need to pull my ear off.
That's so cute. Oh no.
Mr. Sholmes, where are you?
Wait, is he on the ship?
Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse.
The SS Grouse?
She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We're currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour.
You've taken a ship to France?
Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to aboard this vessel in time.
So, you mean you'd already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place?
Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name?
Sherlock Sholmes? World greatest detective?
Recited to perfection. Well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow. Mr. Zato, gently with the genius's ears, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry.
If I may, Sholmes. I'm assuming.
Ah, there you are, Mikotoba.
Alright, perfect.
You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday, when we examined that notebook, I recalled my steamship ticket.
But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact, I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name.
Aha. Well, yes you did, didn't you?
We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now.
And if we're unable to present any new leads then, I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I've no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. That was a loud motorcycle.
Until later, then.
Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first.
Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion.
Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operated in that way in the first place, Sholmes?
Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine.
whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of our shows, we have but half now. We have but half that now before the grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long.
There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense.
Isn't that all the time, though?
So let us begin.
First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. The crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Is this the same guy from before?
Why are you loitering here? Who are you?
My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you?
Do not recognize world-traveling great sailor Tekhin Stroganoff when you see? Great detective? Ha! I don't think so.
Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine.
Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes?
I must say, while such adoration is flattering naturally, it does leave me a little cold.
What are you talking about? Leave! Now!
How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe.
Oh.
Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact.
How could you know this?
Elementary, my dear Mikotoba.
I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku.
There is no one with this name on board.
But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage.
Ah, you mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here in Dunkirk, he said something about emergency, I think.
What? Are you sure? So, Seishiro has realized that we're after him, has he?
His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please.
No! I have had orders to not even to let mouse inside!
Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so he leaves the area.
Doesn't great detective see? That even sailors have ears, both left and right.
Curses! The plan is ruined!
God damn it. And you only have yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes.
Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside.
Mikotoba. I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you?
Opening any lock?
Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner.
How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I?
Good man. So, the game is afoot.
Wait, is this just considered the second section of the... Like if I saved right now.
That's right, baby. There is an
What?
investigation after all.
What? It just goes into this. Oh, that's so good. It didn't even have like an intermission thing. It just was like immediately. Wow. Immediate.
Full of surprises.
Little surprises. What is this? Ah, the switch for the electrical lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewmen wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. Sure, why not? Well, caution to the wind. Herg! What is happening? Where is light? Now, Sholmes, now! My leg!
Nobody there.
That was a close shave.
What a knack you have, stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor.
Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach. This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. Let's set it off, shall we? Here goes then. Pardon me in advance.
You... What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem.
What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once!
Sorry, sir. Nothing to report. It was just stupid trick. No, not by me. By world famous... No, as I told you.
Now, Sholmes, now!
Done.
Not even 5 seconds, eh?
Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotoba. In we go.
Oh, yes. Whee! Alright, so I'm immediately seeing something is a little bit off here. Okay, maybe a few other things, too. Good gracious.
It would appear that the occupants of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly.
Those clothes on the floor there. They're Seishiro's, without question.
Well, it seems we're just a little too late.
Yes, by about 2 hours.
Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here.
But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes.
Indeed he may. Which makes us all the more thrilling.
Sholmes, do you want to... Do you want to just, you know, lock the... Oh, there is no lock on this door. Alright, never mind then. Maybe if we peek into this closet, we'll find another Japanese man hiding in there. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asoki's wardrobe.
Indeed he was, and it was of a similar size to this one. Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow.
What? Whatever for?
It was the site of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, in you go. This will only take a moment.
Really, Sholmes? Surely you could just tell me what you said.
Well, I added some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murder.
I think I'll just read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I think I missed. Oh, there's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose.
Or indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere.
Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think?
Either that, or... it could be to prevent snakes from entering.
That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it?
Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here, how it...
Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off.
Ice, Mikotoba, ice! What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy! Chilled drinks!
Pardon?
Could it be that the steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think?
Well, it is a luxury liner after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world.
Suddenly, Mikotoba. The sight of you is making my mouth water.
I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. Well, the freezer thing is an interesting thing to note. This is the waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside.
Indeed? Then let us pry. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets.
I sincerely hope only for your work.
Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago.
Oh, okay. 3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then. When I was still aboard myself. Let's see. Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to... Oh. Alright. Ah, yes. There wasn't an evacuation drill. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. Practice evacuation to be carried out by the crew, the night before the ship arrived in Dover. Okay. Interesting. These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and/or travel cases.
I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination.
What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you?
You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. You know what I always say, Mikotoba? There is nothing important about trifles.
It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. The wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see?
Indeed. What have you observed arises when a frame that's been hanging for some time is removed? Perhaps your friend is an art thief.
Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure.
He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late.
I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Oh, am I supposed to do it in that order? That's interesting. These are the rules of passage. Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Nothing yet.
That's a very sizable trunk indeed.
Seishiro is partial to all things large.
And a rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind.
Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape.
Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside.
Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different, though.
Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present.
Oh, hello.
You are still here?
Ah, Abel Seaman Stroganoff. Hello, Gurren.
I was beginning to think you'd never materialize.
It's true, I faded in from background, but I mean, you are waiting for me?
Of course! I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner.
I was in trouble with Captain because of the trick you played before.
Poor innocent chicken.
It is all your fault! Ship is leaving port soon. Get off now!
Of course! We shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done.
What are you talking about?
Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth.
Koi!
I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Chikoku has not yet left this vessel at all. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you?
How can you?
Oh,
Good gracious, Sholmes.
you mean you've worked it out? All of it?
It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning?
Is it time? Nothing would please me more.
Also, I love this music track.
It's so good. Along with, like, Kazuma's, prosecutor
theme,
Yeah, it's so good.
What is this?
We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now.
Oh, this is good. Oh, that's so good.
Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Shikoku left the ship some 2 hours ago.
That is what I said!
And sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it.
What?
Ah, yes, of course.
And I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please, do take the lead.
An immediate combo?
What in the cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba.
It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes. Not 3.
Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me.
I think I can manage that. This ice is a good one. Oh my god! I wasn't expecting that.
It's so good.
That's so good. Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass.
How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it having been abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand.
Get your mind off the refreshment, Sholmes.
One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff?
But why would Seishiro run from us?
Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan?
Ah, that's right. They are. I was in the cabin next door, and Seishiro was. Yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage.
As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide.
What traces? I know nothing about this.
This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff?
Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at?
As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice.
Something out of place in here.
That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba.
No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here.
Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow.
Take that!
It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put here in a hurry.
Yes, and as I'm sure you've already concluded, that frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match.
Duh! You are right. When did frame move?
Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff?
I take offense to that, but are you wrong though? Not really.
I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability.
Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve.
So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall?
Ooh. That looks like a bullet hole.
What? Who has been shooting walls?
I see, the projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff,
Dig!
I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I want to try to protect Eastern stranger?
So we're talking about the same man, I see. Good.
Dig!
I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense as clearly shown by...
I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes.
My dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it.
So, I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I can certainly do that. That is a large sum.
Take that!
Seems like a bit of a, maybe just a small bribe, right? Taka, taka, taka. It's almost too obvious for words.
Quite. The universal language of the world. Money.
And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jigoku. Yes. So, I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But...
I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally.
Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. Yes, I think you're onto there something, Sholmes. You've found the chink in this burly fellow's armor.
We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible.
You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you would describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious.
We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. He's like,
Oh, I wish there was a... Wait, there is technically a zoom feature. Wait, hold on. Hold on.
Enhance.
Enhance.
Also, I was gonna make a joke when you zoomed in on his butt earlier and you said that's a big wad. I was gonna say, don't talk about his ass like that.
I mean, are you wrong, though? Wink, wink.
Take that!
Yep, we were talking about his large trunk. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Too bad you weren't looking at the one right behind you. The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time. And is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. We should probably get him out of there. He's probably losing oxygen really bad.
If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. And I think it would be in everyone's best interests for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible.
But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code.
The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure.
Of course.
In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk. He must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff.
No, I know nothing about combination code.
What a very convenient amount of letters is in Sholmes' name, you know? Oh, that slow turn is so good.
Don't move a muscle, my good seaman.
Eh?
Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk?
How on earth do you expect me to...
It's a 7-digit number, remember? Quickly now, we have little time.
Oh god. Oh, this is hard to read. Holy moly. Oh, okay, so it's upside down?
Oh, that's so hard to read. 52311045? Yeah, I guess that E counts as a 2. A really weird 2.
5 2 3 1 0, 4, 5? Yeah.
Take that!
That hit it. It's open. You had the medal, didn't you? Honestly, how did you even fit? How did you fit in there? Like, honestly.
Well, Eugene, you found me now.
Seishiro. How does he? He's so huge. Though.
He's so big.
How did you even get in there? I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know.
But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it.
No, quite. I just wish it were some other way.
Well, are you ever going to introduce me?
Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Soames. I've read stories of many of your exploits.
Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jikoku, my old friend and traveling companion.
The devil's in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say, your old friend and traveling companion. Who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour.
I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor.
Well, Seishiro, are you going to explain all this?
You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship.
By the Reaper of the Bailey. Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you.
And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again.
So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it?
I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you.
It's somewhat surprising, I must say. Oh, that's you. Sorry.
What is?
Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are all in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available.
So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am.
I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it?
Eugene, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, in a mere 5 minutes, the ship will set off on its own onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist you disembark with us at once.
You have no jurisdiction over my movements.
We have this, Seishiro. Take it. Oh, he's pissed.
What is it?
It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be.
You came prepared then, Eugene.
Come on, let's go.
One moment.
What is it, Sholmes?
Inside Mr. Jikoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket.
What the heck is it? God damn it. What is that, Seishiro?
I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea.
By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know.
Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France.
Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. Wow, it's the 3rd of November at 12 p.m. Wow. So we're back after the half hour, I think. Kazuma Asogi. Oh, wait, right.
I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie. But still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than what you're you know more than you're saying.
During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jikoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained.
We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
No, the trial cannot end now.
You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword.
And you should know never to presume when the battle is won.
The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony. And there can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty.
All relevant testimony. Far from it. There's still a crucial witness, from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony.
In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel.
Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible.
The witness is already on his way, and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness?
Seishiro Jigoku. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper.
Judge Jigoku, you found him!
Oh my god, they found him. What? How did they do that?
But investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man?
He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions.
Herlock Sholmes.
Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with Prosecutor Asogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Seishiro Jigoku is the sole witness, who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October.
Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point.
The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered.
In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side?
No, my lord.
No objections, my lord.
We live to fight another day, by the skin of our teeth.
Is that... What is this considered now? In terms of...
I'd say you're about a third there.
Should we continue then? Like, how much... Is there another part of this then? Or...
Yeah, there's another part.
Another part before we go back to the trial then? Or...
I think so.
Okay, let's just do that then. That sounds like a good idea. And then we can, next time, go to the rest of the trial, I think. That might be perfect. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical Stills night. Then at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. Oh yeah, this definitely seems like a between thing. Look at that whole bird.
We've returned, my dear fellows.
Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help.
Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikatoba and I, no?
You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in a court earlier.
And so this prosecutor, Asogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say?
Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo.
I mean, it's incredible. To think that he even entertained the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin.
Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. And after all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse.
Fair point.
When all this started, almost a year ago now.
Oh, there's more.
Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie.
Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Shikoku?
We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man.
Poor Professor Mikatoba. This must be quite a shock for him.
Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home.
Oh, what is it?
Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday.
You put upon me, Mr. Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well.
Oh, you've had a reply already.
What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes?
Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present.
Fair enough.
Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone.
Ah, and what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial was won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding.
Oh, that actually does all sound pretty good.
Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up.
In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set, with a helping of pheasant as well.
Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there.
Hmm? Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening?
Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy.
For me?
That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey.
I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you.
It's a shame, really.
What do you mean?
Well, for a brief moment I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean.
Oh, right, they didn't resolve the...
Oh! Iris, do you mean
Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened in to the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left.
What? What?
That reaction one from Sholmes is always so good.
The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father.
Yes, about that, Iris. You know
I know. You can't tell me at the moment.
Oh, Iris.
The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no. That's quite alright.
Then why don't I get an apologetic pheasant?
So just who is Iris's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. Or probably tomorrow. You know, it just seems like something that would come up in court randomly.
And so then, let us dine, whilst our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot.
A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious.
Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds.
This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away.
Oh, this is interesting that they would do this for this small section. Seemingly small section, I'm assuming.
Look at him pouting on the couch.
He's so sad. He's just staring directly at the pheasant, too. He's just like, I really wanted that pheasant. Iris, why can't you do these things for me all the time? What is wrong? I'm hungry. Okay, it's only pouting Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing?
Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes.
Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy.
Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer.
Mr. Sholmes, can I discuss some things with you?
Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game.
I can probably contain my curiosity on that one.
You needn't look at me in that fashion.
In what fashion?
It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss.
But, Alright, here we go. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan, then?
Ah, this. I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson.
What? Those 4 names! We've come across that exact same list before. They came up with that unforgettable list. I mean, they came up in that unforgettable case last spring. Yeah, when we were on the dock, right? What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be a masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. and exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi. A. Shin. T. Gregson. J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now?
Yes, where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo.
What the f- I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature.
You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you.
The good boy, yeah!
The picture of him with the turtle on his head.
Yeah! From the case. And in my name?
I wonder what guise he opted for this time.
My dear fellows, as a matter of great urgency, you understand.
Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean, that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was...
It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient.
I don't believe it.
But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies.
Are they all the hands of the Reaper? So that means Jigoku's in on it too?
I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it.
Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once.
And you know that's a bad sign.
Right?
Alright, Cosmo's death. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Buria. It was all for nothing. Cosmo wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie.
I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing that young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost.
What?
And I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Usato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangement between our 2 countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and 1 judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi. I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least.
Wait. Do you mean to say that was all in aid of stopping Cosmo coming to Britain? That's why you...
Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, The majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely? But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
Wow, they really set this up.
Right?
Damn, that's so far back. So, you manipulated me?
I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the occasion for your late friend.
I don't believe it.
But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought, but only after she had a breakdown.
Yep, only after she thought she murdered a person. That's totally fine. She wasn't traumatized. It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, right?
I seem to
Poor
remember.
Miss Pavlova.
Yeah, poor Miss Pavlova. I hope she's doing okay. Escaping. I seem to remember Miss Susato and I had some rather strong words for her.
Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure.
I wonder if she made it to America then.
I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh! An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand.
What?
An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago? Is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows.
There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched, so... You obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found.
K. Asugi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson.
But we only learnt of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now. And only because they appeared as part of the top-secret government communications that were leaked.
Well, that's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that. Approximately this time last year, in fact, when you're both still in Japan.
What?
It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments.
You're perpetually doing what? How?
Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes! What a fabulous line!
For a serious crime.
Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct, and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names, and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected.
Man, this is getting juicy.
As I said, when I learnt of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names, because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased.
What? Who?
A Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes.
Oh, I see.
But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Ah! Kei Asogi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. But I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain.
Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead.
Exactly. So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes?
Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I'd recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters. And the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know.
Oh! Iris! Oh crap. Right.
Hi, Iris.
Oh right, we didn't tell her about that! Oh no!
It's okay, he's not your dad.
Oh, yay! I know he wasn't my dad, but still, it's very sad. Oh god, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you.
No.
But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis.
A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ah, yes. You mean about Asashin, I presume.
Oh, of course.
Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett.
I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow. But I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah! And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy.
What? Topsy? Topsy hypothesis. Alright. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes?
I had believed all 4 names on the list to be names of victims. However, I was mistaken.
Very much so. Asashin was a killer! So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it?
Indeed, and it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front.
Ugh!
Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions.
So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asashin is because he was the target of an assassination.
Informed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective.
What do you mean?
Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the four, who subsequently became a visiting student.
Wait, you mean...
But of course, a name you know only too well.
You mean... Kazuma?
Oh!
He did say in court earlier today.
Yes, on 31st October I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission.
And the mission was...
The assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange.
An assassin? Huh? How could Cosmo possibly have got involved in something like that? Huh?
Let's assume we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain, in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange.
But... what on earth is the point?
Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction. Thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by a consular jurisdiction.
Oh, yes!
Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels.
The highest levels?
These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated, yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot.
But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson.
What? Cosmo was here for Gregson? So Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the mark.
Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow.
Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd been transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him.
But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last.
This is too much to take in.
Well, let's have dinner, everyone!
Alright.
Alright, everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time.
Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow.
What preparations?
Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember.
But the food's still all there.
Did you guys eat?
It is a little bit sad, though.
Hmm?
I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister.
I'm sorry, Iris. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that she is your big sis.
I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing.
Where are you?
But if somebody like me would be worthy, I'd be delighted to become your sister.
What? Really?
Oh yes, without question.
So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Uno to the floor.
Oh my god.
Yes, yes, of course. It would be my pleasure.
You didn't have to agree quite so readily.
Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want to, Runo.
Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother.
Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well.
Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally.
Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now. Because it's for my big brother and sister.
What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what?
You'll just have to wait and see.
Oh.
Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance.
I'll do my very best, of course. So the overnight break-in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point. Exposing new truths while posing new conundrums. Yeah, no fucking kidding. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office. And the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me.
Aww.
Aww. I think I heard Vin Diesel in the distance shout family somewhere. I think that's a good wrap-up point, don't you think? That was...
Yeah.
Holy... Alright, so that was a bombshell at the end of this first half. Jesus.
Right?
It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's an assassination exchange. What?
Here's Mikatoba tap dancing for you.
Yeah, here's Mikatoba. Oh, that's so good though. So I get alright, so I guess I still don't really know who the actual Reaper is. And then okay, like I'm fairly sure that the professor at this point had to be Van Zieg's brother. Like that's my assumption for that part at least, but
what about the Gregson's death? What do you think about that?
yeah, Gregson's death. He is on the list, and then yeah, so I guess he was trying to do the assassination maybe on the boat. But then like Jigoku knows about the whole thing, so then and his name's not on the list, but then how come he got targeted? What? And then there's the blade in Gregson's lunch in like his case.
His lunchbox.
Yeah, his lunchbox is like, huh? Why is the blade there? How does this tie? How would I put this together? Yeah, that part still kind of baffles me. It's like, how does that work in this?
Well, I guess you have a week to ruminate on it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh man, that's so crazy though. This game's so good. Like,
Right?
damn.
They just keep throwing curveballs at you right until the end.
Like Ace Attorney games always have like the weird last case, but like I don't know, I feel like this one throws pretty good curveballs.
Yeah, and it's bringing everything together, all the way from like the first case in the first game.
Yeah, like it has like an actually really good overarching narrative. Like I guess, granted, I guess the original trilogy has the overarching thing of, is it Dahlia, or is it just more each game had their own overarching thing? No, yeah.
Well, none of the games really had overarching, like in Trials and Tribulations, it's like the first case and like the middle case and the last case
Oh yeah,
all had something to do with each other.
Yeah.
But then the other two didn't have anything.
Yeah, they were kind of there, huh?
Yeah, and the first game didn't really have an overall thing, but it was like the whole like Edgeworth Phoenix dynamic.
Oh yeah, the DL6 incident, how that like all carried over to for the entire.
Yeah.
So-
I think like from the main series, only the Edgeworth games have overarching plots amongst all of them.
Yeah.
Which is why I really like the Edgeworth games, because they actually do have that overarching plot.
Yeah. And then interestingly enough, those two are that is a duology too, right? So
yeah, when will we get that one remastered? Come on, guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, I mean they're doing justice. Maybe
I know, right? Docket. I want them to do the Edgeworth games because they're really good, and the second one has not been localized, and it's very good.
Yeah.
Because like even Spirit of Justice, it did have an overarching plot, but only for the cases that took place in Karain. Like all the ones that took place in Los Angeles still were just kind of there.
The Trucy one. Although I really like that case in Spirit,
I do like that case a lot.
That one is super good. Like, despite it not having to do with literally anything else in the game, that was really good. The Rakugo gun was just really.
That one was weird, but it was fun.
I mean, it was weird, but it was fun because of how they were like awkwardly placing Simon in it.
I love Black Quill.
Yeah, Black Quill is such a fun character, and then, like just putting him into the weirdest case possible is probably the best.
I was so happy to see him. I was like, yes, Black Quill.
Yeah, and he was the legal advisor for Athena, so like it really helped out that like it shows. Yeah, these two have like after the Dual Destinies, these two really did resolve all their issues, so
yeah,
like, they could finally be together. So like that was really good. Do you think that they're gonna try to do an Athena? More Athena fleshed out stuff, because it just feels like they really concluded her thing.
I feel like if they do a Phoenix Wright 7, it's probably going to be kind of like Spirit of Justice, where it's just like switch between Phoenix, Apollo, and Athena, since they're all the main characters now, and probably just take turns with cases that may or may not have an overarching story.
True. Or maybe they'll give Apollo like a little bit of a break since he's in Karain, but like he might show up in like the conclusion, like I'm taking a vacation from the office for a bit or something, you know?
Maybe they'll introduce a fourth protagonist.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see like Rayfa and them like just randomly show up in like Los Angeles.
See, that's the problem with Ace Attorney. There's so many characters that only appear in one game, and it's like, oh, I would like to see this character again, but there's too many recurring characters for them to continuously bring people back.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, Great Ace Attorney is so good, because it's just a contained cast.
Yeah. All within, and it's only 2 games, so like they don't have to worry about like making like a really stretched out 3-game plot, which is really good.
I heard that originally they wanted to do it as 3 games, but then they shortened it to 2, which I think is just perfect, actually.
Yeah, I think it really is the right call, because like I can't imagine like stretching the plot of Naruhodo's entire time in Japan to like 3 years or something. Like that'd be kind of weird. Like the 1 year they spend is like makes sense. It's like, oh, he's still being a student, he's getting used to things, and then like like I think it just works more organically as like a 2 game.
Mm-hmm.
I think what would be fun for the because in the conclusion of Spirit, right, they have that one scene with Phoenix talking to their
Les Miroirs.
Yeah, he was talking to her, right, in the credits. So it's like
yeah.
Oh, I think it's finally time we tell them. So like, it does sound like they're trying to set up for like finishing up Trucy's arc, maybe.
Remember that plot point from Apollo Justice we never touched upon in Dual Destinies? Let's bring it back.
It's like, hey, here it is. Remember his mom, and who's also her mom? Like, we're not gonna bring that up until that. Like, yeah, it does feel like they're trying to like do something with Trucy, because it's just like her growing up, and then like that magician case really does seem like it's trying to wrap up her story, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what they were trying to do with that.
So like, I think maybe, yeah, if anything, the next game could be focused more on some of the Grammaire stuff again. Just to like cap it off and to like finish it up. It's like, alright, stop asking about the Grammaire. Just stop talking, kind of thing. Like that would, yeah, I think that would be possibly what they would do. But yeah, either that or they just go Athena Sykes, Ace Attorney kind of thing. That might be another choice.
The Athena Sykes trilogy.
Yeah.
Which technically the Apollo trilogy is almost like an Athena duology anyways. So.
Yeah, so it was really weird when they announced that. It was like, oh, here's the Apollo series. I was like, huh? But...
I love how it's like, here's the Apollo trilogy. It includes Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney, and Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies, and Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice.
It's so funny.
You see, like, Phoenix is still in the logo of those two ones, too, so it's like, yeah, this is an Apollo trilogy, right.
And he's the biggest person in the logo, too. Like, you look at where Apollo is in Dual Destiny's title card, and he's so tiny.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give us the Edgeworth duology, honestly, and then maybe bring back Phoenix versus Layton in a playable form for people.
Yes, definitely. Like maybe even bundle it with the Miles game. That'd be...
put it in the Edgeworth trilogy.
Yeah. Just call it the spin-off trilogy. And it's like, what does the third game have to do with the other two? That's the thing. It does.
The Winston Payne trilogy.
The Winston Payne. Oh no.
The most recurring character, him and his brother.
I think it was really funny that for the 3D games they just brought the brother in the first one, and then he's not there in the second one. I mean, he's there randomly in the Spirit of Justice in another country. It's like, how did he get? Why are you in Korea?
He's got all the bling.
Yeah, he does, and still no hair because of that family.
Thanks to Kazuma.
Oh yeah, and they just full on brought it into this game too. Like, they really know what they're doing with the references. It's so good. Well, yeah, I guess we shall end it off for the night. Is anyone streaming? I really don't know.
Yeah, Zuma's streaming.
Oh, are they? Hold on, let me see. Oh, and Nari too. Oh, they're playing Blade Front.
Oh, they're playing Naraka together?
Yeah, Naraka Blade Front. Yeah, we could go. Let's go invade in Zuma's. Also, what is Naraka Blade Front? I actually don't know. Do you know what that game is?
It's like Fortnite, but with swords, is what I get.
It's Fortnite, but with... That's an interesting concept.
So it's like, it's still got like, it's a big map, you get randomly dropped, and then like the area shrinks, and you have to kill everyone else, but you do it with swords instead of with guns.
Ah, okay, so it's like all melee combat.
I think you can go in as a team too, like you can go in a pair, or like a trio as well.
Okay.
At least that's what I think. I could be wrong.
Well, I guess we can find going in. Alright, but yeah, thank you all for hanging out, whoever is chilling with us.
Thanks for coming by.
And
we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for joining me again, Kira. Like, this is always fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's fun, and I love this game.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see you experience the ending of it.
Oh, I'm so happy that I can get to experience this game in full. I'm so happy they ported it. Like, that's the best thing too.
I know. I never thought we'd get it.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere,
it's like, oh, by the way,
not one, but both of them at the same time too.
Like, oh yeah, here's the collection. Bye. Wait, what? Capcom, come back. Capcom. All right. Well, bye. Let me press the
bye.
Right. Okay. Well, we got 10 seconds. All right. Hold on. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Bye for real. Good night.
Bye.